Imagine a grand ballroom in 18th century Europe. The air hums with music and chatter. Glimmering chandeliers illuminate a sea of faces, both male and female, but look closer and you'll notice something peculiar. Atop every man's head sits a wig, a powdered white confection that seems to defy gravity. These wigs, far from mere hairpieces, were powerful statements of wealth, status, and social standing. They were as essential to a gentleman's attire as his finest coat or his most polished shoes. Their towering heights and elaborate curls spoke volumes in a society obsessed with outward appearances. The sheer ubiquity of wigs in this era might seem bizarre to modern eyes, but to understand their significance, we must step back in time and delve into the world that created them. The fashion for wigs in Europe can be traced back to the court of King Louis XIV of France. The Sun King, as he was known, was obsessed with grandeur and sought to project an image of absolute power. Suffering from premature hair loss, Louis adopted a wig in his mid-20s. This act of royal vanity set off a chain reaction. Courtiers, eager to emulate their monarch, donned wigs of their own. What began as a royal affectation quickly spread throughout French society. By the late 17th century, wigs had become de rigueur for men of a certain standing, not just in France, but across Europe. This trend was fueled by a potent mix of social pressure and economic opportunity. Wig makers, or perruquiers as they were known, found themselves elevated to the ranks of sought-after artisans. As the 18th century progressed, wig styles grew increasingly elaborate. The most fashionable wigs, known as perruques, were towering creations made from human, horse, or goat hair. They were styled into intricate curls and often adorned with ribbons, feathers, and even miniature ships. These extravagant creations were not without their drawbacks. They were notoriously hot, itchy, and difficult to keep clean. They could also be a fire hazard, as the hair was often treated with flammable powders and pomades. Perhaps the most unpleasant side effect of the wig craze was the proliferation of head lice. These tiny parasites thrived in the warm, dark confines of wigs, making them a constant nuisance for even the most fastidious gentlemen. Section 4. The waning of the wig. By the late 18th century, the fashion for extravagant wigs began to wane. The French Revolution, with its emphasis on equality and simplicity, dealt a blow to aristocratic excesses. Men began to favor more natural hairstyles, and the wig gradually lost its status as an essential fashion item. However, the legacy of the 18th century wig craze lived on. Wigs continued to be worn in certain professions, such as law and politics, as a symbol of authority and tradition. And while we may no longer powder our hair or adorn our heads with miniature ships, the human fascination with fashion and self-expression remains as strong as ever. Section 5. Echoes of extravagance. Looking back at the 18th century wig trend, it's easy to dismiss it as an absurd and impractical fad. But beneath the surface of this seemingly frivolous fashion statement lies a deeper story about human nature. Just like the towering perruques of the 18th century, today's fashion trends can seem equally outlandish and impractical. From sky-high heels to logo-emblazoned handbags, we continue to express ourselves through the clothes we wear and the accessories we choose. The 18th century wig reminds us that fashion is more than just fabric and thread. It's a powerful tool for communication, a reflection of our values, and a window into the ever-evolving tapestry of human culture.